This is my new Model S. Well, new to me. This is actually a 2013 85 kilowatt hour Model S. I just bought it from a private owner, but it has less than 100,000 miles and still charges up to a maximum of 223 mile range. Now, I know what you're thinking. It seems like a terrible idea to buy a 12-year-old EV. Battery is degrading, who knows how many miles it has left. But here's the thing. I've been driving my last car, a 2011 Kia Soul, for the last 10 years. It has over 220,000 miles, so I am not one to get fancy cars or really buy expensive cars. The most I've ever spent on a car was that Kia Soul, and I bought that used for $9,000. So buying a new Tesla or even pre-owned from Tesla, you're still looking at $21,000 or more, and I just wasn't ready to do that. This is my first EV. I didn't know if I would really like it. So I was looking for some used Model S's, and turns out Facebook Marketplace, different dealers, there's a bunch of them, and you can find 2013, 2014 Model S's in that $13,000 to $15,000 range. Now, I'll tell you how much I paid for this one at the end of the video, so stay tuned. But I did look at several models first. I went out and saw, and many of them are in not great condition. Some of them were missing some of the seals on the sunroof, and some the handles were broke, and that's not a good sign. And I even went to a dealer to drive a used Model 3. That one had 100,000 miles, and honestly, I really loved it. I might have gone for that Model 3, but again, I just wasn't ready to commit that much money to it. Then along came this one, which seemed like a pretty incredible deal, to be honest. Went out to see it. It was in great condition, no major issues, has not been in any major accidents. And like I mentioned, most of all, it was under 100,000 miles and still got 223 miles of range. So I decided to bite the bullet, and I got it. Now I'll talk about transitioning from my 2011 Kia Soul to a Tesla, how that drives in a second, but there were some other things we had to do to prepare. For instance, I had to install this 220-volt outlet in the garage. Honestly, my father-in-law did a lot of the work. But we got that in so I could charge it at home and it would be able to charge overnight. The first night I put it up to 100% battery capacity, and turns out it did have a 223 mile range. And now I've driven it for several days and it seems like that's been pretty accurate. My co-host for Primary Technology said I should change it to battery percentage instead of miles. So you let me know, Tesla owners or other EV owners out there, do you do miles or battery percentage on your dash? This has also been a big debate in the Primary Technology Show. You should totally subscribe, but links are down in the description. We didn't transfer ownership when I bought it, so I did have to set it up in the app. You have to provide the title, your license, and another proof of ID. And the app said it might take 3 to 5 days, but turns out it actually appeared in the app in just about 5 minutes. So I was able to control everything and even do shortcuts for the Tesla app. Inside it has this two-tone leather and wood. I'll get into some of the storage issues in the Tesla in a moment, but everything just looked good. And after several days of driving it, I've been really happy with it. Who knows what issues might be coming in the near future, but for the price I got it for, I'm okay with that. I also looked up a bunch of videos, and turns out there's Teslas that have like 400,000 miles plus, and even some 2013 and 2014 models with really high mileage. So I felt pretty confident. But let's jump in and go for a ride. So like I mentioned before, the only thing I've driven for the last 10 years was my 2011 Kia Soul. And so driving an EV and a Tesla is very different. If you've ever driven an EV, you know what takes the most adjustment is the generative braking. So as soon as you take your foot off the accelerator or even start lifting it, the car automatically begins braking, but not using the brake pads. It's the motor basically that is braking. It's great for longevity of things like your brake pads, but it definitely takes some getting used to. After a few days, I love it now because I'm basically driving with one foot. I'm using my foot to accelerate and slowly bringing it up off the accelerator to slow down. And it begins slowing down even as you get to the end of the top end of the accelerator pedals. But driving it is so smooth, it's so much quieter inside. Again, my baseline was a car that is so far away from this one, but just not having the motor noise and such, all I'm really hearing is road noise. And I'm actually getting new tires on this next week, and I think that should help with that as well, but it's been great. Also, the sound system is great. We were listening to music last night with the kids, playing kind of all of our favorite songs, and sound system is amazing. Love that. And I've been very comfortable riding it. Obviously, there's tons of adjustments from the steering wheel to the seats, and I've created a profile for both me and my wife, so all that's great. Now, I will say, this huge screen right here, which I believe is a 17-inch screen, that's nice. It's a huge screen. And there's a lot of apps in there, and Tesla's always updating the software. And so I found the theater mode where you can do things like watch Netflix, YouTube, and Disney Plus, and you have your backup camera. But I didn't realize that you actually have Apple Music and Apple Podcasts built in stock to the Tesla. And so the first day I actually paired my iPhone via Bluetooth. Pairing is easy. I was playing music and podcasts from Pocket Casts here in the Tesla, but I actually don't know where to put my phone. That's one thing that is a little cumbersome here in the Tesla. There's not great places for like your phone. There's this huge open area in the middle, but I'm actually looking at some different organizers. I know on Amazon they kind of have these like rubber inserts, which gives you a couple cup holders and such. But if anybody out there knows some good accessories to put here in the middle, let me know. I'll put links to what I'm looking at down in the description. One of which being a drawer under the screen, which is great because that was just kind of an open space, and I had my sunglasses in there, but they kept flopping around. So love that drawer. And I also got some cup holders for the back seat. Not technically made for this model, but it seems to work because there are no cup holders built into the car. So those inserts are definitely helpful. Now, one big thing I do miss, CarPlay and Apple Maps. I was using this CarPlay screen in my Kia, and I love being able to just see my iPhone content on that screen, whether it's predictive locations, favorites, and I do really enjoy Apple Maps. I loved having that in the CarPlay. It worked great, but you have to use kind of Tesla's deal here, especially if you want to know what battery percentage are you going to be at when you get to your destination, or pretty much anything else. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to bring my CarPlay screen over because where would I put it? Am I going to suction cup to the window? That's not going to look great. Plus you're going to have a bunch of wires hanging down, and I could put it underneath the Tesla screen, but then that's so low, I don't know if it's really worthwhile. So I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to bring the CarPlay screen over. I'm leaning on not and just trying to roll with this. And I'm also not sure if I want to get one of my phone holders here in the Tesla, because I actually have several phone chargers that are also mounts. I have a Belkin, ESR, Amegat. They're all Qi2 chargers. They're great. But these air conditioning vents are very small in the Tesla, and I don't know if it'll work, if it's going to hold securely, and also you're covering up an entire vent. And being in Florida, I need all the vent I can get, so I don't know about putting that. And then I'm also going to have wires hanging down that I would have to go to a car charger underneath, and that's going to look kind of messy. There's not a great way to hide those cables from the air conditioning vent down here. Which, speaking of which, because it's an older Tesla, I don't get USB-C. These are older USB-A connections down here, but I do have the car charger port, and so I have my Anker double USB-C port in there. It's my favorite accessory for in the car. Definitely check it out. I'll link that down in the description. Whatever car you have, it's a great option. And so I'm going to be charging my iPhone with that, but I'm just not sure what to do, where to put my phone. The last thing I'll say, driving it is pretty fun. If you ever have driven an EV, you know acceleration is almost immediate. There's no gear shifting, so it's just constant acceleration. I do notice a difference from the Tesla Model 3 that I test drove at the dealership versus this older Model S. I feel like the Model 3 had a little more pep or a little more power, especially on the acceleration. And this Model S still has some of that, but just not as much. I think those newer Model 3s have a little more oomph. I'm just going to accelerate quickly right now because somebody was coming around the corner, and I like being able to do that. My Kia Soul would just kind of look at me and the hamsters would give up. So, sorry, that's probably an inside joke. If you remember the old Kia Soul commercial, they were like hamsters and stuff. So I call it the hamster mobile. It's a joke with my kids. Anyway, but riding in here is very comfortable, even when there's 5 of us in here. My oldest son, who's 15, he sat in the back seat, and you know, you don't get a ton of room, but it is enough. You don't feel too squished. I really wish there were cup holders and more storage back there for the kids' stuff, but I'll let you know what accessories I land on. I also saw that I could program HomeLink, where the car will actually learn from my garage door opener, and then I can open the garage from here in the car. So I'm going to try and program that. Subscribe to the channel because I have a bunch more videos about this. Considering doing kind of a longer road trip and testing out the supercharger network with an older car. So subscribe, hit that like button, and if you have any questions on an older Tesla, not that I'm an EV expert, but I'm now becoming knowledgeable on what it means to own a 12-year-old EV, namely a Model S, leave comments below, and then we'll do some future videos answering those questions. So overall, it's just been a few days, but I've been really happy with it. I love not thinking about gas, no oil changes. It's way more tech forward than my 2011 Kia Soul, and I enjoy driving it. So subscribe to the channel because if there's any updates and changes, I'm gonna let you know. And if you have any suggestions for a new Tesla model owner, new being, well, 2013, let me know down in the comments. And by the way, this is what I paid for it right here. I'm gonna put 2 other videos that YouTube thinks you're gonna like over here. And if you wanna know about saving your battery like on your iPhone, using things like shortcuts, one of those videos will be right over here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.